All right, folks. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show here on StreamYard. I'm Chris Heidel for SportsTalk with Chris Heidel. That's Adam, that's Matt, and myself, Adam Arise, and Matt Trecanelli here, and Chris Heidel. And that was Eddie Rabbit with the throwing my life away because today is his birthday. So
nice. I remember that song.
Yeah. So there's a reason behind the song there. So we got a big show here this evening. It's championship week. We'll have WYATT RECTOR from Florida State, the former tight end who is now doing some real estate work from the 2002 team. He'll join us shortly because he played against Louisville last year down there in Louisville, and that was a good game between the Cardinals and Seminoles that was pulled out. And it's funny thing is, Matt and Adam, Jordan Travis got hurt in that game.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. It's really interesting that these things happen. There's ways. So and then around at 7:45, John Manson from the Sea of Red, the Liberty Flames are going to be playing in the Conference USA championship game, and there's a lot of news coming out of Conference USA today that they're grabbing one of the teams from the Coastal Athletic Conference or the former Colonial Athletic Conference. Delaware Blue Hens might be making the jump to the next level. So it's going to be a great show here tonight. I hope you guys are joining us here on a cool, cold Monday night. So I guess if you're not a big fan of Monday Night Football between the Vikings and I think is it Bears or Vikings?
Yep, that's right, Chris. That's right.
Yeah, Vikings and Bears. You might want to turn on to us because we're going to get yourselves ready for this big game down in Charlotte. So, for Adam, bring in the next guest.
Sure will, Chris. Folks, it's championship week across college football. And if you thought last week was crazy with rivalry week, you ain't seen nothing. It's going to be just as crazy. And our first guest, he played on last year's Florida State team. He played with Jordan Travis and Tate Rodemaker, Jared Verse, Trey Benson, Tatum Bethune. And now he sells real estate. So let's welcome in former Florida State Seminole, now turned realtor, WYATT RECTOR. So WYATT, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And what was it like, to play with Jordan Travis and Tate Rodemaker and be coached by Mike Norvell last year?
Why are you there? I think he's probably hit the button. Is it working? Did you hit the mute button? It was just working. Hold on. It was just working.
Yeah.
Anyway, so hopefully he'll log back in. I guess there's some issues going on somewhere in the world. Yeah. So let's see here. Is it live?
Well, while we're waiting for technical difficulties, this was an extremely phenomenal rivalry weekend. Let me tell you, folks, that we're happy Florida State won. They pulled out their game.
Why?
There you go.
Yeah.
Go
So, what was it like to play with Jordan Travis and Tate Rodemaker and all those guys last year and be coached by Mike Norvell?
Man, let me tell you, it was one heck of an experience, guys. It's so crazy. Like, everybody asked me that, playing with Jordan and Tate nowadays. And I'm like, listen, me and Jordan came in together in the same quarterback room. I watched him literally develop from a person that, was primarily a runner to would throw a little bit here and there, wasn't the most accurate guy, to now, up for the Heisman. You know what I mean? Like, having that fantastic run that he did, just seeing him grow as a person, grow as a football player. I mean, and just do it the right way. He literally did it the right way. He just put in the work, and that's exactly what he got. And then I could tell you a lot about Tate. Tate's one of my best friends. So we talk just about every other day. And Tate, just watching him, he patiently waiting. He came in. He was, obviously learning from J-Trap. J-Trap started stepping up, doing good. And I thought J-Trap was a perfect example of a leader to follow under his footsteps and everything. Tate came in, he threw the ball pretty good, but obviously now he's throwing the ball really good. And Tate's a fantastic human being too, great person, great personality. And I 100% back this man and leading this team to what we can do. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, why I like his toughness, because the other night when he got, coming out of the pocket and that Gator guy, I'm sorry, no offense, it should have been 2 targeting calls.
Oh yeah,
not one.
Yep.
Yeah, because that other guy hit him underneath the chin too, so they only saw one of them. So that number 16 should have been gone, as well. But having him sitting on the side, gets off to the sidelines, looked like he got hit by a truck. And then Mike Norville said, you turn around, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm ready to play, coach. Let's go." And he goes, and then Kurt Herbstreit on the broadcast goes, "That's a tough guy." Yes, it is. Yeah. That's good.
That's the definition of Tate. Tate comes into FSU, not the biggest guy in the world. He didn't weigh that much. He's not weighing what he's weighing now. Very slim, but super athletic. And, he used to take tons of hits when we go during the scrimmage, we go live and stuff like that, take tons of hits, and he would just get right back up. So it didn't surprise me at all. I mean, I saw the hit too, and I'm like, listen, I agree. I was like, this needs to be both targeted. They both need to get thrown. I'm like, he got smacked. Me and my family were both looking. We're like, oh my gosh, like we're praying that he's okay. I mean, they kept replaying it over and over again. You see his eyes roll on the back of his head, and we're like, oh boy, we're like, man, really hope this isn't a concussion. You know what I mean? And then next, I'm watching the game, and then I'm also checking my Twitter and everything else. I like to be interactive during the game, and I see this little update. I'm like, Tate Rodemaker is checking back into the game. I literally look up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's running back on the field. And then like you said, Herbstreit's like, man, this guy is tough. And I'm like, listen, that's the definition of Tate. And honestly, I think, Jordan had nothing to do with that, right? Right there, what happened to him on the field. But I'm telling you right now, Jordan Travis, over his whole entire career at FSU and what he had to go through starting off, terrible. I mean, not a great season first season, not a great season second season. You know what I mean? But he's the one that showed toughness and showed, listen, this is the standard that you need to play at the quarterback position. And I think Tate is he probably, if you were to ask him, he would say it listen, Jordan was that example. I'm trying to be like Jordan, but I'm also trying to be my own person. But I'm trying to show basically the rest of my team that I can do this, and that, listen, we're going to back this, and I'm going to win this game for you guys.
Yeah, let's play I have the hit. Here's I found it this afternoon. Here you go. Here's Tate. Back to pass, and he's rushing. He's not that fastest guy, but he gets on and boom, right there. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I remember watching that. Oh my goodness, live. I was like, oh boy. I was like, please get up, Tate. I was like, please get up. I mean, he's literally one of my best friends. He was in my wedding. He was at so. Seeing that, I'm like, oh man, please get up. Listen, we need you, Tate. I'm more concerned about him. I literally called him right after the game too. I actually called J-Trap first, and I called Tate right after the game. And I'm like, listen, I'm like, Tate, I was telling J-Trap, I was like, bro, I appreciate you getting us to this point, bro. You've been one heck of a leader. I'm so proud that I got to play with you. And then
look at that, right there. Boom.
Yeah.
And Wyatt, 18 hits 23, and 23 gets the one that gets the boot, and 18 is basically the one who came in on the hit. It's like, come on, you gotta be kidding me.
If you rewind that right here, where you can see where his eyes start rolling the back of his head right here. I'm like, there's no way he doesn't have concussion. The next day, he's talking to me. He's like, yeah, my neck's just a little stiff, and I'm like, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. Well, we got to talk about your performance. Matt and I had a chance to go up to Syracuse last year when you played in the Dome. At the time, Syracuse was on the same Syracuse as this year. They won 4 in a row or 5 in a row, and then they lose 4 straight. And I got to ask you about this play. I don't know if you guys sat on the bus going up to Syracuse and figured this out, but this is your claim to fame. So Here it is. So they call this the Philly special. So here's Travis under center.
Yep, motion
And
with
then
John.
you're number 19, folks. Number 19 is right over here. He pitches it out to you. And I got to say, nice arm, dude. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's nice.
arm.
I want it. Yeah.
You just chucked it up in the air like, go catch it, dude.
I knew I would listen. We practiced that every Sunday since Norvell has been there. Probably after his second year with him, we practiced that every Sunday. And I'm like, Coach, can we please run it? Please run it. Please run it. And then we happened to bring it out during this game. And all throughout practice and everything too, he was like, listen, Norvell's like, listen, Wyatt, you're gonna take a hit. He's like, either it's gonna be wide open where you can throw like an easy pass, or you can run it in, or you're gonna get smacked. And I'm like, listen, I'm coach. I'll do whatever. I promise you, I'll just deliver it. Just trust me with it. I'll deliver it. You know what I mean? And boom, it happened. I did take a shot, but I got up. If you saw the whole thing, I'm literally like, yep, I knew it scored. One time during practice, when we were practicing, I threw it way too hard at J-Trav, and he dropped it. And I always make fun of him to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, he always said he had better hands than me and everything else. I'm like, listen, come on. You remember that play in practice? Like the little Philly special play? And we always
Nice. That's awesome. Matt, you got a question for Wyatt? Because I know you and I saw that game in person.
Yeah, well, yeah, we definitely saw that game, and it was a great game for the Seminoles and everything. And you guys definitely rolled over Syracuse. But so how has the offense and defense improved from last year to this year? And I know that they've gone from losing several games to now being undefeated. But other than that, what's the biggest differences?
That's easy.
yeah. That's a big one too. I mean, look what he does. But I'd probably say the biggest thing I would say since my second year with Norvell, we almost made a bowl game. To then with Coach Dillingham leaving as the offensive coordinator, I felt like that was huge, just because he had favorites and his ego was very high. Mm-hmm. And then you get a guy with Coach Atkins who is all about the team and all about, listen, like in order for this guy to thrive, you need to do your job. And he made an emphasis on that big time. Like he's like, listen, we can have all these weapons. We got Trey Benson, we got LT. At the time last year we had Johnny, you had Cam McDonald, all these weapons to throw to. He's like, listen, we can't get the ball to him if not everybody's doing their job, or we can't open up the pass if the run's not getting opened up. Like he was like, he made a big emphasis on that. And I really feel like this year, after I went to their camp, I went to their spring game for 2023, and you can see it starting to happen in 2023. Them starting to mesh together, and then that's what summer helps. And then camp, obviously, that's when you start to gel. And I saw in camp, whenever my wife graduated, I was like, listen, these guys are starting to put it together. Like these guys, they really are. They're playing for each other. Their offense is celebrating, defense is celebrating when they're making plays. Everybody's communicating. It's like, and they're communicating fast. And I'm like, this is the difference between a winning team, like an undefeated team, and us winning 10 games last year, the Cheez-It Bowl. That's the difference. I mean, we had players checking each other, like offensive players. We had O-linemen like Reese checking other O-linemen. We had Darius checking other O-linemen. Jordan didn't even have to tell everybody. Like it's because like they're checking each other. Like it's crazy. Like everybody's kind of stepped up to that leadership role, and the seniors have kind of took over and helped that and have done tremendous with that. And obviously having Keon Coleman is just amazing to have too, right? Then you got Johnny, who's like Megatron. I mean, I'm telling you right now, like Johnny is the real deal, man. I'm telling you right now. And you got Trey Benson and LT in the backfield. I mean, come on, this team is loaded. And for everybody to say and talk the way they do about us, about you guys haven't played about your strength of schedule, it's a bunch of crap. Look at Georgia barely beating Georgia Tech. Or like for a while, and then you got Washington barely beating Washington Tech. They won off a field goal, so you had that too. So I mean, you got to look at all those things. But that's definitely the difference. Everybody kind of stepping up into that leadership role, and playing together, and all the best players are communicating and being a leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the good thing is all they need to do is win on Saturday night, and they're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly. Hey,
Exactly.
why are you going to go down there to Charlotte? Are you heading down there to Charlotte to
Yeah,
watch the game?
I'll be there. I'll be there. I should be there Friday, like around noon. That's whenever my flight is leaving. I wanted to go talk to the team. Norvell does like a little alumni walk that he does. Like we usually go to the field or like at the hotel. All the past players get to come and talk to the players, and I feel like it would be awesome to just talk to the guys because I haven't been able to all season. I had a baby and kind of getting adjusted. Like work and everything, so it's like it's been all crazy. But I'm super excited to see everybody. I really am.
Maybe we could use you. We're heading down to Charlotte, all three. Him, Adam, myself, and Matt. We're leaving Thursday to get down there. But maybe we could hook up, and maybe you could get some of the former players, or current players, or whoever that come on our show on Saturday.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm actually staying the night. I'm staying with Brian Burns instead of staying in a hotel. I'm staying with Brian Burns and a couple of other guys at his house because he's obviously
he's from Charlotte.
Yeah, he is from Charlotte.
The Panthers,
yeah. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, well, how about this? I'll keep in touch with you this week before we head on down and see what we could do, and maybe we could all have a good show together. Maybe we'll bring the stuff to you guys, and we have like a nice hour-long discussion of Florida State football before the game, and it's on Saturday night at 8:00 at Bank of America Stadium.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah,
well, keep up the good work. Thanks for I found you on Twitter and you put your phone number out there. I'm like, is this like a prank call? I'm like, because sometimes when people go text me and you're like, huh? It's crazy. But
I remember out there for real estate and everything else. I had to like make it public. I've actually got like whenever I did that, tons of FSU fans started texting me. Was like, "We love you, Wyatt. Thanks for doing all this other stuff and everything." Like, I'm thinking I'm getting a lot of business, and I'm like, there's just like FSU fans text me, so it was pretty cool.
That'll be cool. Well, we'll talk this week and see if we can get something going on Saturday. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, buddy. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Wyatt.
No problem.
All right. See you. Bye. Maybe we can have this bash show on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, I'm game.
Literally just do what we need to do. Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to go through Derek. We don't, no offense to Derek.
Yeah. Oh,
So.
by the way, it's called, I asked to do this in honor of Matt. Matt, it's called, you want to unmute yourself? In honor of what happened on Saturday, I have to do this. Roll Tide.
You know what, Adam? I am so glad you said that because this rivalry weekend was just absolutely the best ever. I can never remember there were three close games that literally came down to the last play. Ohio State versus Michigan, Washington versus Washington State.
Yep.
And then you had Alabama Crimson Tide going into Jordan Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama. And you know what? The Auburn fans thought we had another one. Hugh Freeze thought he won another game. But you know what? It was fourth and forever. Fourth and 31. And you know what? Jalen Milroe goes ahead and has 10 to 15 seconds. Literally, you can count 1,001, 1,002, 10 to 15 seconds. He throws the ball in the corner end zone. Boom! Roll Tide! Isaiah Bond is forever etched in Alabama Crimson Tide history.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because of that play right there, they beat the Auburn Tigers.
Nice.
Woo!
Well, let's change a little subject here. The Liberty Flames, who down in Lynchburg, Virginia. My parents went to Lynchburg College back in the 70s, and Liberty was this little teeny little school. Now Lynchburg is now Lynchburg College is now doing a big school called Liberty University. So let's bring in John Manson, who covers the Liberty football team. So for the Sea of Red. So hi, John, how you doing?
John, you're muted.
Let me get unmuted. There we go. Hey, Chris, Adam, Matt, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
Doing
Yeah,
great.
my parents,
Doing good.
Ron, my parents went to Lynchburg College in the 70s, and I asked my mom, I was what was Liberty University like back in the 70s? She goes, well, it was this little teeny weeny little thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. So who
Yeah.
was that thing?
I mean, founded in 1971, it was Lynchburg Baptist College probably back then. And I mean, I graduated from Liberty in 2006. And I mean, that's, seems like a long time ago now, but 17 years. And it's changed a lot since then. And really even just the last, 6 or 7 years, really. I've been living back up here in Lynchburg since 2015, and it's changed a ton in those past 7 or 8 years. So it's amazing what has happened on the mountain, as we call it up here in Lynchburg, and Liberty Mountain, and it's fun playing for the first ever conference championship on Saturday or on Friday. I'm used to saying Saturday, but Friday night against New Mexico State on CBS Sports Network, and should be a good game. Just talking about Auburn and Alabama, this is a New Mexico State team that took Auburn behind the woodshed there a couple weeks ago, and they come in riding an 8-game win streak, 10-3 on the season, and looking to get a little bit of payback back from week 2 when they took an L to Liberty.
Yeah, exactly. Let's speak before we talk about this championship. And you were talking. I was reading Twitter today. You were breaking. You got some breaking news that the league is trying to not. The Conference USA is trying to expand so they don't get that Pac-12 disease, like just basically disappear in the sunlight. So you heard through the grapevine that this is not official yet, but Delaware might be joining the Conference USA. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that needed to happen. I mean, and you mentioned the Pac-12, and that's funny. It's kind of like you were reading my mind, because I shared a couple of texts earlier today with a couple others that follow it closely, and that was exactly my thought. If Liberty, or not Liberty, but if the Conference USA doesn't stay aggressive, or any conference, not just Conference USA, but any conference, if you don't stay aggressive and proactive during this time of conference realignment, you become an afterthought. You can become the next Pac-12. I mean, we're seeing what's going on in the ACC and talking about teams getting poached there and going to the Big 10 or SEC or Big 12 or whatever the case may be. And why is that? It's probably mainly because the ACC has kind of thought they were good enough where they were. So it's good to see Conference USA kind of be proactive and aggressive, like I was talking about, and pursuing a team like Delaware. And again, you have to realize when you're in Conference USA, you have to realize who you are. I mean, there's no other FBS teams that are members of current conferences that are beating down your door to get into your league. That's just not true.
Right.
But you get a team like Delaware, who's a story program in the FCS level. They won a national championship. I think it was in 2003. Casey Keeler was their head coach for that national championship. He's now at Sam Houston, and it's kind of helped lead that team up to the FBS level and in Conference USA this year. And his former quarterback for that national championship team in 2003 at Delaware, and he was also his offensive coordinator at Sam Houston for their national championship team back in 2020, is now the head coach at Delaware. And they'll come in as probably the second largest athletic budget in the conference, right behind Liberty's, and a large alumni base, very distinguished alumni base. They're a very good academic school, and they're good in all sports. I mean, Elena Del Don, we all heard about her a couple years ago and led the Blue Hens to the Sweet 16 in women's basketball. Men's basketball is solid. They made the NCAA tournament a couple years ago. So it's a good addition. They'll be the 11th member joining. It'll probably be announced later this week officially by the conference, from what I've heard. But Kennesaw State joins next year. So it's currently 10 members in the league now. Kennesaw State will make 11 next year. And then 2 years from now, Kennesaw State will make – it's 9 now. Kennesaw State will make 10 next year, and then in 2 years, Delaware come in and make 11, and more than likely they'll end up adding a 12th. A couple teams that have been mentioned for that: UMass, maybe as an independent if they wanted to come over as an all-sports member, or Tarleton State, another FCS transitioning team that could move up to the FBS out of Texas, is another team that's been rumored. So those are probably one of the next two that'll be moved up. But yeah, I think it would be a good addition for Conference USA.
Yeah, John, it's funny with Delaware. I'm only I used to be 45 minutes away from Delaware. My parents live in Hartford County,
Okay.
Delaware. But now I'm like an hour and 15 minutes away. But I feel like Delaware doesn't have the facilities yet because they still have an older stadium. I think they need to do is take that stadium and close it down and build a brand new one down Route 1 somewhere in Rehoboth Beach or something like that, because I think you guys need bigger stadiums. And now everybody wants big stadiums and bigger stadiums and not older stadiums. And I feel like that's the only way Delaware could become big, if they get a better stadium. And no offense to the stadium we have there. It's a lot of history, a lot of, Raymond Stadium, it's pretty cool. But I feel like it's time to go get a brand new one somewhere. Or if you have to, play in Philadelphia for a while until you get a new one.
Yeah, sure, you definitely could. And, look at what Old Dominion did just a couple of years ago. They tore down their stadium and rebuilt it, and now they've got a pretty strong facility there. But, Delaware's hoping to be, you look at some of these FCS call-ups, to the FBS in recent years, and they've had a ton of success. Look at JMU and what they've done, obviously. What were they, 11-1 this season? And Jacksonville State, another team in the Conference USA, had a really successful season under Rich Rod. And, the list goes on and on. I mean, Liberty, they've obviously had some success at the FBS level under Hugh Freeze and now Jamie Chadwell. Coastal Carolina, when Chadwell was there after they moved up from the Big South. I mean, you can go on and on. ODU, we mentioned them. App State.
Another one.
Yeah, App State's another one that's done well. So, I mean, it's been one right after another. They've had success at the FCS level, and that success has translated over into success at the FBS level very early on. And, Delaware is hoping to continue that line of success from those teams moving up from the FCS.
Man, it's pretty good with Liberty doing this game on Friday night, first title game in the mountains of Virginia. It's basically the only thing going on in Virginia for the whole Friday night, because you got, Virginia didn't get a bowl bid, and they're done. And Virginia Tech is probably going to go to some other bowl game, but you guys are the product in that area.
Yeah, there's nothing else going on Friday night, right? I mean, Virginia Tech will be in a bowl game here in a few weeks. We'll find out on Sunday where they end up, and Virginia did not get a bowl game this year as they continue to try to rebuild there. And then Old Dominion will get a bowl game. They had I don't know if you guys got to watch that game, but they were down, I think it was like 24-14 with like 4 minutes left, and came from behind and scored a touchdown, a walk-off touchdown with 2 seconds left to become bowl eligible. I think that was against Georgia State, Georgia State or Georgia Southern, one of the two. But anyways, Liberty Friday night. It's one of only 2 college football games Friday night, starting at 7:00 Eastern, and the other one's at 8 Eastern with the Pac-12 championship game, which would be a doozy too, Oregon and Washington in that rematch. But yeah, I mean, at least for the first half, everybody should be glued into the Conference USA championship game and get the split blocks going on if you got YouTube TV and watch them both at the same time.
Yeah, I have that too.
But should be a good game, and like you said, there's no other games going on in the Commonwealth. This will be the first ever conference championship game hosted in Virginia. Liberty is the first ever FBS team to win 12 games in a season. One-upping even Virginia Tech and what they did when they had Michael Vick. They won 11 games. They won 11-1 that year. They played for the BCS title against Florida State. But never won 12 games. That was obviously back before the playoff and before the conference championship games even were a thing across the board. So got a few extra games to play, or they will have once they get through the next 2 with a bowl game and whatnot. But yeah, it's a lot to play for Liberty. I mean, undefeated season, obviously looking to take home their first ever conference championship at the FBS level, and maybe a chance at a New Year's Six bowl invite. Depending on how things go in the American.
That's true. Adam, you have a question real quick for John?
First of all, it's pretty cool to see what Liberty has done this year under head coach Jamie Chadwell. I think that Conference USA championship game is going to be one that people will remember for a long time, since Liberty, I've enjoyed watching Liberty this year. So give us some keys on how Liberty can bring home a Conference USA championship game on Friday night versus a very tough New Mexico State Aggie program.
Yeah, like you said, a very good team. I mean, they've won 10 games already this year. They've won 8 in a row, beat Auburn, like I mentioned earlier, and they've been coming in with a lot of confidence and looking to dethrone or take down the undefeated Liberty Flames, top 25 team in Liberty. And for Liberty, it's what it's always been all year long. I mean, they're the number one rushing team in the country. They put up 441 rushing yards on Saturday against UTEP and won that game, scored 42 points, and it wasn't even close. Final scored 42-28, but UTEP scored 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes when Liberty had, basically walk-ons in the game. And, so it wasn't that close, but Liberty scored that many points with only 22 passing yards, which when does that ever happen? And it's not even your typical, triple option team like a Georgia Tech of old or an Army or an Air Force, something like that. I mean, they do run the spread option under Coach Chadwell, but it's normally a much more balanced offense attack. But UTEP said, we're not going to let you pass the ball on us. So Liberty said, okay, that's fine. We'll just take 7 yards of carry. And that's what they did all night long. And like I said, 441 rushing yards. They're the top rushing attack in the country, even ahead of Air Force, who they've overtaken here in the last couple of weeks. But that's the key, being able to run the ball. Quentin Cooley's a transfer from Wake Forest, came in this year under Coach Chadwell, and he's already rushed for over 1,000 yards on the season. He's their kind of bowling ball, runs up the middle in between the tackles, and he can spring free for a long gain like he's done each of the last 2 weeks with a 40-plus yard touchdown run. But that's not really his mantra. His MO is more, the 5 to 7 yard runs between the tackles. They also got Von Blue back. He's a true freshman that he hurt his shoulder, separated shoulder back, I think it was week 3 against Buffalo back in September. He's been out since then. But he came back this past week, gives him another option at running back. Aaron Bedgood's kind of a slot receiver / running back. He's very talented as well. He's a grad transfer from Coastal Carolina, following Coach Chadwell and his staff. And then obviously, I can't believe I made it this long and haven't talked about Caden Salter, the quarterback. He's on the verge of 1,000 yards rushing as well, and can also make plays with his arm downfield. And it's a very talented rushing game. And the keys come down to, can you continue to run the ball like you've been able to do all season, and turnovers. Turnovers have kind of been Liberty's Achilles heel at times. Now, of course, they're 12-0, but Sam Houston game, the Middle Tennessee game, those were one-score games that probably shouldn't have been, but it was mainly due to those turnovers by Liberty. So if Liberty's able to control the turnovers, control the line of scrimmage as they've done all season, they should be able to walk home with a conference championship trophy on Friday night.
That's true. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Chris, can I ask John one quick question?
Go ahead.
So John, how has Coach Chadwell impacted that program?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's funny because, Hugh Freeze obviously was here the last 4 years, and he's really, laid the foundation and should get a lot of credit for what's being done even still. But Coach Chadwell kind of came in and he's taken it to the next level so far. And it's funny, back before the season started, I was talking to him at, just outside of a press conference and kind of off the record. And one thing he said that kind of stuck with me then, and that was that, Liberty had won, at least 8 games in 3 or 4 years under Coach Freeze, and then kind of fizzled out at the end of the year. I mean, last year was 8-1, had to win over Arkansas, win over BYU, and then lost 4 straight to end the season as, Freeze was kind of flirting with other jobs and things that happened there. But, Chadwell told me back before the season started, he said, this team, this fan base has been content with winning 8 games. He said, I'm not content with that. I want to win 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games. And when he said that back in August, I was sitting there looking at him like, okay, yeah, I mean, that's nice coach speak and everything. But it really kind of stuck with me as the season's gone on. And it's amazing what he's been able to do to get this team to buy into what he's preaching, to buy into his team culture. And, if you talk to them, they all the players talk about playing for each other. They're not out there playing against the opponent. They're out there playing for the guys sitting next to them. They're playing for their roommate, their teammate, their brother. And, they're going to give their best for them, even if they, think that they're having a rough day or things aren't going their way or whatever the case may be. that's what they've done so far, and it's been really impressive to see. And I mean, one thing that maybe in Liberty circles it was talked a lot about back in the first part of the season, but as they've kind of racked up wins, we kind of stopped talking about it, and it hasn't really been talked about much nationally. But I mean, this is a team that had, it's a completely new coaching staff, obviously. Caden Salter's his first year as a full-time starting quarterback. The entire running back room is remade. None of these running backs were here a season ago, and they're the number one rushing offense in the country. And there was about 50% roster turnover from last year to this year. So he did it through the transfer portal and with some true freshmen. So it's been an amazing job that Coach Chadwell has done. And, of course, they don't want to have that spoiled on Friday night. They want to kind of punctuate the season with a conference championship.
That's true. Well, John, thanks so much for coming on tonight, and enjoy Friday. Hopefully the weather is a little bit warmer than tomorrow. It's supposed to be in the 20s down there in Lynchburg. Yeah,
it's supposed to be a cold morning, and there's also a chance of rain Friday night. I hope that stays away.
That's true. But good luck, and hopefully you guys bring home a championship to the down there in the mountains.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
All right, man. See you.
Mm-hmm.
John Manson, who covers the Liberty football team for the Sea of Red. Yes, we were just talking a couple minutes ago about JMU, and I got a little clip here. Yeah, pretty much. JMU is actually going bowling this year. So here it is.
We'll be heading to a bowl strike for a perfect 300 game. Oh yeah, 100.
Yeah.
They're going bowling.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, we all know, guys, we all know, how James Madison, it's their second year from, in transition from FCS to FBS. Right. And, they sent a waiver to the NCAA, allow,
yeah, eight letters to the NCAA, please.
Yep.
Please.
So what's the hold on? So they're going to a bowl game?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sunday morning around 11 o'clock in the morning, I got a text message saying JMU's going bowling. I'm like, whatever, people, cut the garbage, and it came out to 2 o'clock in the afternoon that the NCAA said there's not enough teams who won 6 games this year. So JMU is basically won by default to go to a bowl game.
Yep.
So hold on, because so the NCAA, they went ahead and put in all these letters to get approved when they were undefeated, and so then they lose the game, and then now the NCAA says, "Oh, sure, you can come in." In my opinion, they should have granted them eligibility when they were undefeated. Not now when there's not enough teams to come in. That's I don't like that because.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But now we got our 2 guests sitting in. We're going to turn back the clock. The last time Florida State went to Charlotte for an ACC title game, and I was there when they took on Georgia Tech. And this is the final couple minutes of that game down there in Charlotte. And these 2 gentlemen who were playing for Florida State at the time, and they are joining us now here on the show. So, Adam, bring in one of them and bring both. Go ahead.
Last Monday night, we had his brother on the show, and pretty cool that his brother and I share the same birthday. So, folks, last Monday night, we had Ricky Aguayo joining us. So tonight, of course, we got to have his brother on. So let's bring in former place kicker Roberto Aguayo. Roberto, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And your brother Ricky and I share a birthday, and I had no idea until I found out the week before. So I texted him, thanks to Chris. I texted him happy birthday on Friday. So what was it like for you to play for Florida State and appear in the ACC Championship game in Charlotte?
Well, first of all, Adam, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for coming on. Hey, we
Yeah,
forgot Phil.
definitely.
We forgot Phil. Let's bring Phil in. You
Yeah.
didn't bring Phil in. Come on, bring Phil in there, Adam. Don't leave Phil
And,
hanging.
and of course, we have to bring in former defensive safety. Also,
A good long snapper, too.
a good long snapper. Yeah, let's bring in Phil Doumar, who is also on the team. So, Phil, thanks so much for joining us tonight. You and Roberto. So what was it like to play in the ACC Championship game at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte?
Absolutely. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys having me, and another opportunity to ride Roberto's coattails. Underneath my name, my description is Roberto's long snapper. So
That works.
I remember.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So what was it like working with Roberto, getting ready to get, what is he, is there any, because I know place kickers have weird things to get yourself ready to go, because I know I used to follow this guy at the CFL named Josh Miller, and he never wanted to sign an autograph before the game. He was like, nope, sorry, can't talk to you. I'm busy doing this, and I got to make sure I'm good and focus. Roberto, what did you do? What did you do to get yourself focused knowing that, because some of your field goal kicking, you were like money right down the pipe, just like Justin Tucker, the guy from the Ravens, just right down the pipe. What did you do? Get yourself just like leave that whole mechanism, like in that Kevin Costner movie.
Yeah. No, I think it started a year before that season started. Me and Phil and Kaysen were the backups to Dustin, Revel, and Dax that were the starters in 2012. So we had reps going on for 2 years, or for a year leading up to that 13 season. So we were already, we had that, the 10,000 reps, you could say. And we just knew each other's tendencies, and I knew where Phil was going to put it. I know where Kaysen was going to spot it, put the ball down. And so I was comfortable. That's the big thing you see. And you think other units can do that, but it's harder than what people think. You guys probably watched and said, oh, Roberto's making all these kicks. But at the end of the day, I owe a lot of my success to Phil and to Kaysen, and honestly our field goal line and our field goal unit, because they bit the bullet on all 198 opportunities I had that year. And I sometimes watch these games, and there's a good kicker going out to hit a field goal or an extra point, and it gets, there's a bad snap or there's a bad hold and it gets blocked. And I was really fortunate to have a guy like Phil, who always worked hard, always repped it out. You never had to tell him like, hey, Phil, like, oh, let's, get some snaps or get some work in. He was always perfecting his craft, and that's why we succeeded that year.
That's awesome. That's cool. And you guys just, hung out together and, went to restaurant, to get lunch together. You guys basically, you were like, friends out the field, even at school. You guys had to get different classes, but you still hook up at the after practice to get everything ready to go for a game, right?
Yeah. The first time I met Phil was probably 2-3 weeks in to me getting to Florida State. And I'm kicking out after a workout or something in the summer, and I'm kicking on the field, and Phil drives his scooter out there and introduces himself. And that's the first time I met Phil. And he was like, hey man, I'm going to be your long snapper. I'm going into, my 5th year, let's get to work. So I knew when I met Phil on the practice fields on the scooter, I was like, all right, this guy's going to be a good one. That's
awesome. That's pretty cool. So Phil, basically I was looking, you did some, when you were there in 2013 and 14, the 2013 team won the national championship out there in California. You took the microphone and went around and talked to people. That was pretty cool. I saw the video on YouTube, and I was like, wow, he was actually going around talking to Dean Deckenhoff and all those people. Is that your new personality? Were you shy anytime soon? Were you just,
No. I think Roberto's kind of laughing. Never really been shy. Had been politicking for the guys at Seminoles.com or War Chant TV, whichever that was.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get them to give me the mic for a while. And it was my last game. So I actually, 2013 was my last season. So I wasn't on that 2014 team.
Right.
That played against Georgia Tech and then later went to the Rose Bowl against Oregon. But no, yeah, I'd been talking to the media guys at practice and everything for, going on 4.5 years. So it was about time they gave me the opportunity. And, I think people had fun with it. I know Gene Deckerhoff did. Hope Stan Wilcox did. I know, we interviewed a few players and everything. So fans seem to enjoy it.
It seems pretty cool. I was just watching it. It's like, wow, you just walk around, driving, talking to whoever you saw and all that stuff. It's like, that must be cool. So that's awesome.
Yeah. They did a good job of cutting it up and bringing a conversation from earlier in the deal, towards the end and looping everything back in.
Yeah. So let's talk about this year's team. Jordan goes down. You guys were there for the 2013 celebration, and a couple weeks ago, and Winston, James Winston, got his jersey retired and all that stuff. What was the feeling like at that stadium when Jordan went down with the ankle? Was it like a pin drop? Did it feel eerie? What did it felt like?
Bill, I'll let you go.
Yeah, it was definitely quiet. The whole team was up in the Champions Club, kind of watching the game together. I was actually probably 3 or 4 rows behind 2 of our former trainers who now work for the Falcons, and they were able to come, partake in the celebrations, of our team, because either they had a bye week, maybe they played on Thursday night, I'm not sure, but they were able to join us, and my eyes kind of turned to them, and they didn't have a great look on their face, and the stadium was quiet. The way the team rallied towards Jordan was very similar to what we saw against Oklahoma last year when I'm blanking on the young man's name, but the offensive lineman who got hurt right there at the end of the game, and the whole team came up to the card and high-fived him as he came off. I think that just talks about what type of program we're building. You see sometimes a guy get injured and he's out there by himself. Obviously, they need their space to evaluate the injury and, for him to kind of breathe and everything. But, when it comes time to bring him off the field, the whole team came out. And honestly, the other team came out too, which was a sign of respect. But, yeah, it was definitely, at that point in the game, it's not looking too good. You have confidence you're going to pull it out, and that happens. And it was definitely quiet, and he was just trying to make a play. He was probably frustrated. They were down 2 scores and went scrambling. And, man, it's so unfortunate. He's a great player, but I'm friends with his brother, and I know how much of a stand-up individual his brother is. I know Jordan is as well, so you hate to see it.
Yeah. I felt sick right afterwards. I was like, oh, my God. And, and I was like, and I met Jordan so many times after the games and interviewed him. And, I just saw him at Wake Forest a couple weeks ago, and him and I were having fun, joking around, having a great time talking to each other. You're like, hey, dude, what's up? I'm like, hey, man, what's up? How you doing? And just seeing what happened. It's like, wow, his whole life is like now he got to go to the NFL, and, he wished he had that final game back, but now he has to pick up and move on and bring that spirit with the team, and hopefully they'll bring everything towards Houston.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was there with Phil and the rest of our 2013 team, and the guys that could make it that week. But I remember seeing it happen. I was watching him run, and then he falls, and then seeing that whole thing, I was like, no way, this is happening right now. And when he calls the trainers, and I think it was Trey Benson and a couple other guys just like turned around, and I was like, no. I'm happy he's okay. I'm happy he's fine and in good spirits. But it's unfortunate to see that happen, especially if you're his teammate. First, you're concerned for his well-being and make sure he's okay. And he was in good spirits coming off the field, and which is a good sign to see. But it's unfortunate for him in his career. I know my brother played with him, and he's great friends with him, and I went to school with his brother as well. But it's unfortunate to see that a guy like that. I remember when my brother was there, and he told me, how Jordan was feeling, during the time that he was there, and it's been in reports before where he was, thinking about, maybe hanging up the cleats or just because he was, he wasn't playing well. But the opportunities came, he rose to the occasion, and to see him build a program from where it was before, he was, at the pinnacle, Heisman, in Heisman contention, taking his team undefeated, trying to get to the college football playoff and potentially another national championship. And to see him go down like that, it definitely, it's a bummer, but at the end of the day, it's football. You're one play away all the time. And things happen like that. And to see the team rally, to see Tate come in on Saturday and the whole team, help each other and to come out with a win is huge. And I know they're playing for him, and they want to do the best that they can do out on the field and hopefully come out with a victory. So,
Exactly.
Thoughts are definitely with Jordan and his recovery.
Exactly. Well, Adam, do you have a question for both?
Yeah. So Roberto and Phil, what was it like to play with Jameis Winston? Since I remember, his first game, it was on Liberty night against Pittsburgh on ESPN, and I was impressed. I was like, who is this guy? And I was like, he led you guys to a national championship against Auburn in the Rose Bowl. I mean, that was pretty cool. So what was it like to play with Jameis and be around him?
Bert, you can take this one first.
It's funny. Me and Jameis were in the same recruiting class. That recruiting class in 2012, and to be honest, I didn't really see any highlights of Jameis. I knew he was one of the top rated quarterbacks, if not the number one, arguably. But we both redshirted behind a senior quarterback, a senior kicker, and I think that time to develop behind those guys was key. And to be honest, for myself, I don't know if Phil saw it differently, but I didn't really know how good, we were going to be. We're redshirt freshmen. We've never played it down. And to be honest, I think Coach Fisher really just made it, there was never like, oh, we're going for the national championship. It was just, game by game, week by week, right? The first thing we're focusing on is beating Pitt. And that's all we did. We went out there, we had fun, really no expectation, just go out there and play. And you guys saw it. Pitt, he went for four or five touchdowns. I don't remember, but it was a lot. And I myself was out there. It was my first career game as a Seminole, and we just had fun. There was never really like an expectation where, oh, I got to be as good as Dustin or Jameis B. I got to be as good as EJ Manuel. And it just kept going week after week. And I don't think it was until Clemson where I thought, we're really good. And just being behind Jameis, being a leader, I don't know. You don't really look at it when you're in the mix, when you're, in the moment. You appreciate it after, when you're away and you see how hard it is to win a national championship and how close of a bond and the guys we had. It's like the perfect recipe, and it's hard to do. So hopefully these guys here this year can have a chance of feeling that same feeling that we felt in 13.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
Jameis is just the ultimate teammate. He's great in the locker room. He's great in pregame. He's great at practice. I don't know of anyone, at least during our time at Florida State, who didn't enjoy having Jameis Winston on their team. As far as when did we know he was going to be good, a lot of people forget how talented that quarterback room was the spring before he was named the starter. We had Jake Coker, who ended up a year or two later winning a national championship at Alabama. We had Clint Trickett. Those are the three guys kind of competing for the spot. Ended up having a real good career at West Virginia. Now he's coaching. He's an offensive coordinator. I think Marshall, don't quote me on that, but I believe so. There were three really good quarterbacks competing for the top spot. And, you'd see highlights of each of them, kind of at practice and everything. And eventually Clint transferred out and Jameis was named the starter. But, it wasn't until that Pitt game that you really saw what he could be. And like Roberto said, it wasn't until maybe the Clemson game where you saw, wow, what this team could be. Of course, you're 5-0 and we're getting national attention and we're ranked number 5. And then you go in and just kind of do what we did. And that's when it was like, oh man, all right. Things definitely clicked up a notch, but Jameis is just so great to have on your sideline in your locker room. I know you see the highlights of his pregame speeches and everything and his postgame interviews, but really who he was on a day-to-day basis. He was just a total team guy. And that's what you want to have a quarterback, I think. Not a good teammate.
And he's a great cornhole player too, because I played with him here in Baltimore at the Ed Black Courage Awards, and it was pretty funny. I went up to interview him, and he goes, "I wore my Florida State hat," and he goes, "Family, huh?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, so I hung out with him for the whole evening, pretty much just like the entire evening, just doing, and he goes, "You want to play cornhole?" I'm like, "Okay." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to lose to this guy. So, but the problem is the cornhole things were all around different people. And I was short arming everything because I used to bowl a lot. So I was like short arming everything. And I'm like, and I'm hearing my brother's voice in the back going, "Yeah, you're getting your ass kicked, son. Yeah, good job." Yeah, but sorry for the language.
Not a bad guy to lose to.
Yeah, but it was great. It was great to spend time with him. And he was like, him and I were just having a great time. And then when I got a chance to talk to him more later in the evening for the show and all that stuff, it was just like a great time to like, wow, I played cornhole. And I don't think I'm ever going to have that opportunity to play with a Heisman Trophy winner again. I think that's pretty cool. So that's my story with James. Yeah. So go ahead. Who was that?
That was me.
All right, go ahead, Mac.
So and this question is for both of you guys, but how has Florida State since 2013 evolved, developed, and improved as a team from then until now?
Well, I think for a few years it didn't, obviously. But if you're right, if you're kind of looking at the last 2 years, I think what you've seen is Coach Norvell's been able to get the guys who believe in the program on the team, and he's been able to weed all the guys out who, didn't believe or weren't team first guys and were selfish. You saw that with Coach Fisher as well. Some of the characters on the team in 2009 weren't team first guys. They didn't buy into what the coaches were doing. They would maybe lag a little bit at practice. And over the course of a few years, Jimbo was able to get those guys out of the program, either through graduation or they didn't buy in and their life was just kind of harder because of it. And then that fourth year was pretty much the only guys there were like 6 of us that were there for Coach Bowden's last year. I was one of them, Brian Stork, a few other guys as well. So pretty much the whole team that was the 2013 team was guys who Coach Fisher personally picked, right? And I think that's where you're getting now with Coach Norvell entering his fourth year, or in his fourth year, rather. He's been able to get out some of the guys through the transfer portal who didn't want to buy into the program, and he's been able to get guys in through recruiting and the transfer portal who are a good fit. And you're just seeing it not only in the wins. Obviously, the wins are awesome. I love when the team's winning, but just how the team's also carrying themselves. We're not on 3rd and 20 giving up a 22-yard play anymore and then taunting the guy after a big tackle. You saw that in Coach Taggart's era, and it was just like, oh, that's great. You laid a big hit. They got the first down. Like, what are you celebrating? You don't see guys pointing at each other after someone, scores a touchdown. There's a lot of things that just weren't sitting well with me as a former player, as a fan, as someone who loves the university and the athletic program that Coach Norvell's been able to totally get rid of. And so I think the culture's there. The team loves each other. Hey, we had a star player get hurt. Maybe our best player get hurt. what did we do? The next guy stepped up. Everyone on the team stepped up a little bit. And, if he's able to continue that, I hope this guy sticks around for, his whole career.
Yeah, I feel confident in him being the quarterback. Just his toughness on Saturday, getting licked by 2 Gator guys, not getting knocked down on the field. Helmet to helmet, goes down for a couple plays, comes back in, he goes, "I'm ready. Let's roll."
Yeah.
And it's like, and then Kurt Hershey, you probably heard it on the broadcast. He's like, "That's a tough guy right there." Yeah. Like you don't see that all the time in college football anymore. It's now like, I hurt myself. I want to go to the sidelines, and I'll see you guys later. And now it's like he just came right back and go, "Let's go." Yeah.
He made a great handoff.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what do you guys think? The outcome. We want the outcome come on Saturday, a trip to the playoffs, and that would be cool. But what do you like to see this Saturday? That you guys want to see on Saturday for the Seminoles. Do you want to see a complete game? Because I don't think we had a complete game all season long. I don't think this. I think we need one complete game.
I think the way they've played it, I think it's their MO. They've always started out slow,
Right.
but they played a complete game. They finished, and you'd rather them do that than start out hot and not be able to finish games. But I think it's just getting into a rhythm. I don't fault. I'm not here and saying, "Oh, why aren't they scoring, or why aren't they getting out there, with a big lead?"
Right.
Sometimes, guys, take a little bit to build up, take a little bit to get rhythm. And at the end of the day, you got to look at it as for every opponent, it's their national championship. It's their, claim to fame if we beat Florida State. So they're going to bring, all the trick plays, all, the fake punts, the going for it on 4th down. So we don't have film on those plays. So that's why we have to adjust. Maybe they get 1 or 2 big plays. And, but if you've watched this season, after halftime, we come out and we're a completely different team. We do good with adjusting. And, we've had a couple injuries during the season, but we've always managed to stick together and come out with a victory. And at the end of the day, a W is a W when the clock hits 0. So doesn't matter how we do it. You would like to see, fans want to see, 50 points, 40 points, 50 points.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you play. Norvell's different than Fisher. The guys today are different from the guys from 13. But at the end of the day, you see, what Phil was mentioning, from what we were that 13 and from what was that Jimbo Fisher era, it was unfortunate that happened. He left Texas A&M. But my brother was there during the Taggart era, but he was there during the Fisher, when Fisher was there in his last years. And then he was in the locker room when I was playing. He would be around the guys when he would come and watch me play. And I remember him telling me when Taggart was there, he's like, "Man, it's not the same. It's not the same when you guys were playing, and it's not the same since Jimbo left." And I could see it. And when he would tell me he's in the locker room, it's just not team first guys. And you can't have those guys on the team committing errors, committing penalties, getting in trouble, not making workouts. Those are the little things that stack up and it'll show on game day. And it did. And then it was unfortunate when Norvell came and then the COVID hit. Guys couldn't work out. They had to be separated, all that. But when Mike Norvell came in, I got a chance to speak with him, and just his demeanor and his presence, what he was talking about, what he was preaching, I was all for it. And now to see him year after year progress, recruit the guys that he needs and succeed, and now where he's at, I love Norvell. The fans love him. The players love him, which is the most important. So I think he's going to be here for a long time and really put Florida State back on the map like we were in 13.
Yeah, I like
it's
his eyes are pretty cool. Mike's eyes when he gets angry, he looks like Chucky. You know, when
Yeah.
Yes.
and I'm like, wow. I mean, he's fired. Like the other night with the hit, he was like just looking at the ref, like give him his like this stink eye. He was like, I want to come, to the parking lot and have a nice little conversation with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's amazing to see because Chris and I were at the Florida State Wake Forest game, and I mean we got to interview some of the players at the end, and we were there for the post game press conference with Mike Norvell, and this team really, I mean their chemistry is at an extremely high level,
Right.
and their chemistry is there, their togetherness is there, brotherhood is there. It is just amazing how the team, the players. It's like everyone, it just seems like is like really together and they're really just, wanting the best for the team, for the outcome, just to improve each and every game. And I mean, when Chris and I were talking with Jordan Travis, I mean, he said that, hey, there's still things that we have to improve. There's still things that we have to work on. I mean, I know Chris and I have spoken to other players in the past. Okay, and I'm not, and it wasn't Florida State players. It was other teams that we were talking to in the past that they said, "Oh, well, yeah, well, we're doing great and we're doing good," and when there there was hardly any talk of improvement here. I know Mike Norvell is talking and preaching about, we have to improve and we have to keep on doing this, doing that. And he's a motivator. And that is just phenomenal what Mike Norvell has done to just bring these players and this team together.
I agree. Well, we're getting up to the top of our next interview. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on. We could sit here all night and talk, it's like roundtable discussion. But are you guys making the trip down to Charlotte, or are you guys staying home and watching in your cozy, nice, beautiful houses? Yeah.
I will not be making the trip.
Yeah, I'm flying up Saturday morning, going to the game with my parents and my brother.
That's cool. Awesome.
That'll be fun.
Nice. All right, Roberto, thank you so much for coming on. Phil, thank you so much. Phil, we'll run into you hopefully down the weekend because we're going to be down there as well. So
absolutely, text me.
Yeah, I'll text you. We'll run into each other or something. We'll see. We'll see you. So
thanks, guys. Good night.
All right, guys. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming on. See you. All right, that's Roberto Aguayo, former place kicker for Florida State, and Phil Doumar, who was the long snapper for Roberto. So that was very good, guys. I really enjoyed it. I didn't want to end it because it was getting into we're sitting around when people go to a bar.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it felt like I was sitting next to him. I was like,
I felt like
I could talk to them for hours about the 13 national championship team. I was
we'll catch up with these guys, this weekend. We'll have fun with these guys. We'll just stick around Charlotte and see what what we should do on Saturday. We should go around and see what's going on in different places. And do a little feature.
Why not? Why not? I think it'd be kind of cool for all. Why not?
Yeah. Speaking of
we should do. We should go ahead and go to different restaurants around the area. Yeah. And just see if we can get, just like Chris, how we attempted to do at the beach and everything. But we should go ahead and just walk around and went talk to some fans and talk to some former players if they want to get on.
Yeah,
that's what we should do. But what's going to be a great time, and having both of them on, Roberto and Phil. That was great.
Yeah. Let me bring this up first here. If you are a Seminole alumni or you're a big Seminole fan, I'm going to try to save this picture here. The Charlotte Seminole Club, because all these people around town have, if you graduate from a university, your alumni your group and all that stuff, they're throwing a great welcome party. So let me bring this up here. Let me bring this picture up here, and I think maybe the three of us may take a trip over there and see what's going on. Get some sights and sounds of the area. So let me bring this off.
And go have dinner on Matt's birthday.
Yeah, Matt's birthday. Yes, that's right. It's Matt's birthday. Matt's going to celebrate hopefully a great time down there on Friday. Hopefully the rain will stop for a little bit. It's supposed to rain a little bit on Friday, but at the Residence Culture South End on West Bland Street in Charlotte, they're going to have a welcome party.
Wow.
Friday from December 1st at 6 p.m. All is welcome. I talked to a young lady today on Facebook. I was trying to get the president to come on. Emily Polecki. I hope I'm saying her right. I talked to her trying to get her to get somebody on to talk about it. They're going to do that too, and plus they have other things as well. Tailgate party on Saturday evening in the afternoon before the game. And they're right down the street from Bank of America Stadium, so it's going to be really
they're about like 10 minutes from our hotel in Charlotte. So
it's going to be real quick. We'll run into Aaron McLean this weekend. I talked to Bill Huffmeyer by text today. He said send him an email because the ACC Hurdle people are going to be there, and maybe we could talk to Eric. And he's reporting right now that Tyler Van Dyke is entering the transfer portal.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I guess he's done at Miami. I guess because he's threw 47 interceptions.
Yeah.
Wow. I want the Seminoles to be bringing home a win on my birthday weekend. That's going to be one heck of a birthday because if they win, they are going into the playoffs.
Right.
And Alabama needs to, and of course not. It's called. You want to see Alabama upset Georgia on Saturday in Atlanta for the SEC championship game.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
If Alabama does that. But here's the thing to everyone out there: if Alabama does upset Georgia, if Alabama Crimson Tide does do that, they're going to cause tremendous chaos into the playoffs. Because here's the thing: if you do that, and if Texas, Michigan, Florida State, and the other, the Pac-12 is in it anyway. Okay, so they're automatically in. But if those other three teams, Texas, Michigan, and Florida State, if they all win their conference championships, then Georgia will not get into the playoffs, and a two-time defending champ will not get in, and that's going to be awful. I mean, they're two-time defending champs, and their only loss is to an Alabama team that's only has one loss themselves, which is Texas. I mean, that would just so. Yes, we're rooting for Alabama to win, but that's going to cause monumental chaos, monumental headaches, and the committee might have to drink a lot of coffee and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, before we bring in Rick, I had the Herb FM Sports Radio microphones were pretty busy yesterday afternoon. With the press conference, the teleconference call with video testimony with Jeff Brom, who used to be the head coach at Purdue, and we had a chance to talk to him last year. He was against Michigan. This year, he's here in Louisville, back home, and I asked him, "What's the difference between last year and this year? I know when you were at Purdue. What did you bring from Purdue to make yourself good here at Louisville in your first season?" So here's my Q&A with Coach Brom.
Go ahead, Chris from Herb FM.
Hey, Coach. This is Chris Heidel from Herb FM Radio in Baltimore. Congratulations on winning. I talked to you last year when you were at Purdue. So this year I was talking to you in Louisville. So what is the thing you brought from Purdue to make you guys, make Louisville be so successful this year?
I think I've been fortunate enough to be a player for a while, assistant coach for a while, head coach for a while, a lot of different spots. Had the opportunity to go to Purdue and for 6 years and try to help elevate a program that was not doing as great as they would like for quite a while. And I thought we made some really good strides and progress. And, we found a way to get the tables turned with the team we had and then adjusting the team every year to try to make it better. And it was work. I mean, it's one of the reasons I took the Purdue job is because I knew I had to prove my worth going there. It wasn't, waiting for, Notre Dame and USC to open. It was going to try to help elevate a program that needed help. And that's fun to do. Now it's hard work and you've got to figure it out and be willing to withstand some gut punches every now and again that take you down. So I just think myself and some of our coaches, we've been battle tested. We know what it feels like to lose. We know why we've lost sometimes. We know how we can try to get more out of our guys than we possibly can and maximize their potential in order to win. I think you have to think outside the box, have some creativity, take a few chances, and then, do what you do best. So because of that, I think we were able to win a lot of close games this year that we easily could have lost. But we hung in there and found a way to win enough to get to this point. So we'll continue on the same path and just try to keep getting better.
Yeah, so that's actually a true story there. He wasn't waiting for Notre Dame or USC or Texas A&M calling him. He was trying to get his crap, and lo and behold, he's a former Louisville Cardinal, and Scott Satterfield went to Cincinnati to take over the Bearcats, and there was an opening, and he came home, and he was actually, and I talked to my brother the other day. Jeff Brom was a quarterback for Louisville back in the day when they beat Miami. Back in I think one of the classic games back when Miami and Louisville weren't in the same conference, but they were like, one's in Conference USA, the other one's in the Big East or whatever. So let's bring in Rick Bozich, who does cover the Cardinals of Louisville. You got to say it the right way, because I heard the other day somebody said if you say Louisville, it doesn't sound right. Yeah, it's Louisville. Thank you to the guy on good for the guy on the CBS Sports Network. He was telling me all about it. I was listening to him. He goes, "Yeah, you can't say Louisville. It doesn't sound right."
Louisville.
It's Louisville. So Rick, thanks for coming on. So what's the vibe there? Because this is the first conference championship game for the Cardinals since you have to go back to Lee Corso days.
Yeah, I mean, the vibe is getting back more towards focusing on Florida State. I think it might take another day still before they get over the Kentucky loss. That was a tough one. They'd lost now 5 in a row to Kentucky. They had 2 killer fumbles in the second half and gave up a long kickoff return and lost the game to a team that they were supposed to beat. And it's the kind of games they won all year, and they didn't win it. And I think they need to – it'll be a challenge to see how well they can put it behind them and get ready to play a very talented Florida State team.
Yeah, I like the running game that the Cardinals have, because Matt and I were on the way back from Columbus, Ohio, and we were listening to the Notre Dame broadcast, and it seems like, you had this running back here that just keeps running. What's his name? I forget his. Let me bring it up here. I have his.
Lamar Jordan?
Yeah, Lamar Jordan, who's from Long Island, New York. I'm from New York, from Long Island. Where's he from in Long Island? Is he from Nassau County? Do you know?
I don't know. I know that he started out at Syracuse and left there
a
couple of years and came here. Actually,
I'd like to know, because I'm from Oceanside, New York. I was like, that'd be cool to talk to somebody who I left when I was a little kid, and he's representing Long Island. That's pretty cool. So. But what does he bring for the? We saw him at the ACC kickoff. What did he? This year, what did he? It seems like he's one of those quiet running backs that don't even know about. It's like he's.
Yeah. He's a very versatile back. Earlier in the year, he had at least 3 or maybe 4 runs of 70 yards or longer. I mean, once he got to the second level, if the linebackers didn't do a good job of getting angles on him or wrapping him up, he was a threat to take it a long way. Then he he tweaked a hamstring somewhere along the way, and he actually missed the Pittsburgh game. He carried the ball twice in that game after Louisville was 6-0. That was the week after the Notre Dame game, and Louisville lost that game. And he really hasn't been totally healthy the rest of the season. So now the way it usually works is he plays a lot in the first quarter and some in the second quarter, and then they switch to Isaac Guerendo, who's the guy who transferred in here from Wisconsin, and he's more of a power back. So they have a really good dynamic of Jordan being a little bit more elusive and Guerendo being a little bit more of a power back. But I think I'm not sure Jordan's really going to be really fully healthy the rest of the year. Maybe for the bowl game with a few weeks off to rest, but he's not as healthy as he was the first part of the year.
Exactly. Adam, you got a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
First of all, Rick, one of these days I'm coming up there and going to the Kentucky Derby, since I am a fan of horse racing.
All right, you need to do that. Next year will be a good one. Next year's a big one. It's Derby 150.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
and I always watch the Kentucky Derby every single year. So and I was pulling for Louisville to beat Kentucky on Saturday, since I know I was. But just talk about how Coach Jeff Brom has turned this team around. From last year when he wasn't there.
He's done a really good job in a number of areas. The first one, I'd say he did a great job in the transfer portal. They got they got their quarterback, Jack Plummer, out of the portal, who actually played for Brown at Purdue. Then he went to Cal for a year and got a lot of playing time last year. They got Garendo. They've got a bunch of DBs, Storm Duck and Cameron Kelley from North Carolina. They were very, very successful in the transfer portal. Scott Satterfield did leave a decent core of players on the offensive line for him. And then, I think the best thing that Jeff Brom did was he played to the strengths of this year's team. If you follow his career at all, in his 3 years at Western Kentucky and his 6 years at Purdue, he's pretty much known as a coach who loves to pass the ball. And this team really, when it was playing its best, was really more of a running team. Because I think he figured out that the strength of the team was the running game and defense. And Plummer did have some issues throwing interceptions this year. So he kind of went against character and played to the strengths of his team. And as he mentioned in that clip that I saw hear you play, they were terrific in one possession games. They won 5 games this year by 7 points or less. The very first game of the year, they were down. They gave up 28 points in the second quarter. Georgia Tech came back in the second half and won. And that, to me, was the key game of the whole season. It got the players – when you win the first game with a new coach and come from behind on the road to do it, I think you get tremendous buy-in in the locker room that the coach knows what he's doing and the assistant coaches know what they're doing, and it kind of just went from there.
That's true. And I was just looking at Coach Brom's career when he played football for the Cardinals. He played underneath Helen Stellenberger. So he has some of that pedigree of that former Miami Hurricane guy who came to Louisville to make put the Cardinals on the map. So,
Jeff Brom is the Brom family is probably the first family of football in Louisville. Their dad, Oscar Brom, played quarterback at Louisville.
Okay.
His older brother Greg was a wide receiver at Louisville when Jeff played. Jeff played early in the Schnellenberger tenure. He was on the Fiesta Bowl team that beat Alabama. I mean, he won multiple state championships at Trinity High School. Jeff Brom turned down a scholarship from Lou Holtz at Notre Dame to stay home because he believed in Howard Schnellenberger's vision at the University of Louisville. Won a Liberty Bowl here. He was a great baseball player. He was drafted by the Cleveland Indians and actually played in minor league baseball with Jim Tomei and Manny Ramirez in minor league baseball. And then after that, he played in the NFL. I don't know. I don't want to undersell him, but 6 to 9 years. He played on a Chargers team that made the Super Bowl under Bobby Ross. He played briefly with the 49ers. I think he threw a touchdown pass to Terrell Owens when he was with the 49ers.
Nice.
So he learned from Bill Walsh. He learned from Steve Young. He's a sponge. And then his coaching career, he actually started here locally in the Arena Football League.
I remember.
Minor league of Arena Football. And then he came on Louisville staff under Bobby Petrino and later worked at Illinois, I think, for Ron Zook. And then he worked for Schnellenberger at Florida Atlantic. He got the job at Western Kentucky and did a really good job there under 3 years. They went to 2 Conference USA championship games. And then he went to Purdue. And, Purdue only made the Big Ten championship game once ever, and that was last year. So he's a really bright guy. He's a really even-tempered guy. When they win, he doesn't get all crazy or emotional or ecstatic. And when they lose, he doesn't break things or, lose his mind. I think he would be a great guy to play for because you always know who you're going to get.
Yeah, that's great. That's cool.
So do you think that Louisville is going to maybe underestimate Florida State a little bit and say, well, they got a backup quarterback in there, and since Jordan is out the rest of the season, do you think they're going to overlook that at all?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, they know Florida State has talent. Football players, they know players on other teams. They know that Florida State has recruited well over the last few years. They got a lot of guys from Florida who know those guys. And until this year, they played Florida State every year since they've been in the ACC. They know Florida State has tremendous speed. I actually think that quarterback at Florida State played in the game last year against
He
Louisville.
did. Yes,
Yeah.
he did. Tate Rodemaker did. Yeah, that's right.
So they're familiar with him. So I don't think there's any. And after they just lost to Kentucky, I don't think there's any chance that's going to happen at all.
Yeah.
And when
I
also with
Right.
Jeff Brom, he's had success wherever he's gone. He was with Purdue, had success there,
Right.
and in bowl games as well. And first year Louisville has had tremendous success going to ACC championship games. So what has led to Jeff Brom's success?
Well, like I said earlier, he's a really sharp guy. He's learned from a lot of really talented coaches. He's from a football family, a football environment. He's studied the game. I think he relates well to younger players, and he's got a really good ability to communicate with players and get them to buy in what they're trying to do. And I think that the Louisville players have responded to him this year. I mean, they played 12. I think I went to 10 of the 12 games. And a lot of them were close, and they came down to the fourth quarter, and Louisville held together in the fourth quarter and made plays when they had to. They don't make a lot of bad mistakes. That was so uncharacteristic of them in the Kentucky game to have those two bad fumbles in the second half in their own end of the field. They hadn't really done that all year. So I think they play mistake-clean football. They don't get a lot of penalties, and they stick to the things that they know they're good at.
Yeah. I like the quarterback for you guys, Jake Plummer. Is he still the second incarnation of the Jake the Snake, the guy out in the Arizona State? Because I'm like, wait a minute, I thought that guy graduated.
Yeah, they're not related, although they're Jake Plummer is played at Arizona, and Jack Plummer played high school football.
Okay,
he's a big kid. He's bigger than, and I'm 6'4.5". He's bigger than me. Brown describes him as a really smart kid. He throws a very solid deep ball. He had a great game. His best game of the year was against Boston College.
Yes.
The one thing he had to improve on was decision making. I'd say for the first part of the year, he usually make one or two bad throws every game, which resulted in a pick or maybe two. He's a better runner than you think he is. He's had some very good runs this year, but I think he commands the huddle well. He's a 5th or 6th year guy. So, I mean, he's very experienced. He's not going to get flustered. He's played against Notre Dame. He's played against Ohio State. He's played against good teams. He knows what kind of challenge Florida State presents because of their speed in the defensive secondary and their aggressiveness across the defensive line.
Yeah. And you have one more for
Rick? So just talk about the atmosphere around Louisville this year. What's it been like, under first-year head coach Jeff Brom?
It's been a tremendous amount of excitement. They had a great home schedule. They played 7 home games. The crowds were probably up 20 to 25% over last year. People had lost faith in Scott Satterfield, and Louisville had kind of been slow to bounce back. I mean, you have to remember in 2017, 16 and 17, Lamar Jackson was here. Yeah. And it was high energy, high entertainment, highly successful football. And then after Lamar left, Bobby Petrino, the bottom fell out. Yeah. They went 2-10. Bobby didn't make it to the end of the season. Satterfield came in. 2020 was COVID. The crowds were gone. And they've had a hard time getting fans back on board because Satterfield twice flirted with other jobs and didn't go. And I think Louisville fans didn't like that. And then when he left for Cincinnati last year, they brought back a former player whose brothers both played at Louisville also, and they're on the staff, Greg and Brian. Brian's the offensive coordinator. And people have bought back in, and they're excited about Louisville football. I'll be interested to see. Louisville fans have always traveled well. I'll be interested to see how many fans they send to Charlotte for the game.
Yeah. I would like to know if one former player going to show up from the Cardinals, some guy named Lamar Jackson, because the Ravens have a bye week.
Oh, they do?
So it's like,
wow.
They have a bye week. Yeah, you don't know. I'm thinking, hey, you might see him rolling around the sidelines with his with his hoodie on. You don't even know where he is. But
well, I mean, Donovan Mitchell he brought like 3 or 4 of his friends from the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it might have been the Notre Dame game he came to. And their biggest celebrity fan is the rap star Jack Harlow. He's been at most home games this year in the end zone. He's got a suite down in the end zone. So Lamar's been back, I think, a couple times since he left. They've retired his number 2 years ago, and he showed up for that one. So, this coaching staff isn't the one that recruited him, but they still embrace Lamar, and you'll see a lot of Ravens jerseys and a lot of Lamar Jackson number 8 jerseys when he played at Louisville in L&N Cardinal Stadium. So I don't know. I'm sure the offer's out there. If he'd like to come, they'll make plenty of room for him.
Yeah, I had a chance to interview Lamar when he was a known guy, no name. First year at ACC kickoff, we got a list of who's coming on our show, and it had Lamar Jackson. I'm like, okay, who's this guy? So he gets in, and he goes, he's very quiet, Rick. He's very quiet.
He is quiet. He is.
He goes, yeah, I'm going to do really well, and Lord Jesus Christ, all that stuff. And then boom, he wins the Heisman Trophy. And next year, he's like a social butterfly. He's going around talking to everybody at ACC Media Day, talking to them, kissing baby. I looked at him like, after you just won the Heisman, what, you become a social butterfly? He goes, I know, man. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like he knew who I was. So it was pretty cool. And I chit-chatted for a little bit. And then I saw him the last couple, when he was down there for the award. And I said, okay, you're going to the NFL, right? And he's like, I can't tell you. I was like, first of all, I'm not ESPN, okay? I'm not going to, blur it out, And so like a day later, see Lamar Jackson enters the NFL draft. I'm like, oh, you're trying to be snippy there, buddy, huh? Keep it quiet. So.
Yeah, Lamar was a once in a lifetime type player at Louisville. He's got his own statue at the stadium, and anytime he wants to come back to Louisville, he's welcome.
That's cool. Well, Rick, I hope to see you down there this week. Hopefully the weather's good, and normally Charlotte's good. The first Friday of every ACC kickoff championship game is like 70 degrees, and then it goes off to like 40. But this time around, it's a different type of weather, so it's all right. Who cares?
I've only been there at stadium for one Belk Bowl. I think it was Kentucky, Virginia Tech, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting. So hope to see you down there, and safe
nice
travels. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. See you soon.
Bye-bye. All right, bye.
All right, that's Rick Bozich, who is the sports journalist for WDBR.com in Louisville. So you got to do Louisville. Yeah.
Louisville.
You got to have marbles in your mouth. Louisville. Yeah, I'm from the north, so it's like Louisville. Yeah. So let's keep with the interviews. I had a chance to talk to Coach Novell yesterday, and I asked him about number 18 because we all saw what happened on Saturday night with him getting his bell rung by one of the beautiful Gator players. So we're glad that he got ejected. So here is my quick interview with him. Talk to him about number 18 and how his toughness is. So here is Mike Norvell.
Hey, Coach Mike. It's Chris Heidel from Herbert Radio in Baltimore. Congratulations on the win last night. How tough is number 18? Because I know he took a nice lick in the fourth quarter by the head-to-head targeting call. It seems like he's one of those tough guys, and you're glad you have him as a quarterback.
No, absolutely. We have a tough football team, and Tate, he was. It's a challenging place to go and get your first start of the year. And I know that things didn't start off great for us. I mean, it's had some adversity that presented itself, but I think he displayed his mental and physical toughness yesterday. I mean, that the 2-minute drive to go get the touchdown right before half, to be able to come out in the second half and open up the first series with a score, and then just the different plays that had to show up there to put us in a position to have a chance to win. He just continued to answer the call, and that the late hit, it's tough to see any player you get hit like that. And when I went out and got a chance to see him, he was telling me that he was okay. It obviously rattled him a little bit, but he said he was okay, and we just wanted to make sure that we checked him out. Came over to the sideline, and whenever we had the next break when they called their timeout, he came up and said he was good to go. So you came in, and even in that play, we basically double called a sequence, and he got us in the right play that resulted in a touchdown.
Hold on. Why am I still muted? Oh, there I am. Yeah, I agree with that one. It's just, he's that guy. And it's great. I'm glad that Florida State had a quarterback who came in during games, mop up games, got everything ready to go, and knowing that he knows the offense. And it's a good thing, right, Adam?
Yeah.
I know you want to interview this next lady who is a very
well, I sure will.
Go ahead.
Folks, our next guest is the sassiest girl in Tallahassee. Okay. She eats, she sleeps, and she breathes the garnet and gold. Okay. She's an awesome mom with 2 wonderful boys. And she and I have a lot of fun talking on social media. So let's bring in the one, the only, Danielle Joyner Kelley from Florida State. Danielle, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. And let's talk about this Florida State team. And wow, what a season that they've had. So, what's the atmosphere been like in Tallahassee this year around Florida State?
It's been phenomenal, and I just want to make sure you guys can hear me.
All good, Danielle.
Okay.
All good.
It has been phenomenal, of course. Last weekend, devastating to lose Jay Trav, such a leader, such a key part of our offense, and our whole team, actually, just, a true leader in every sense of the word. So that was devastating. But then it was more of a sense of regroup, finish everything we've heard, respond. It's like Coach Odell Hagan said, and I posted the other night, all we got, all we need.
Yep, so that's right.
Yep. You move on. And they did. And they beat the Gators. So there you go.
Yeah,
State champs.
Exactly. So let's bring in Cabe Hall, who also he covers for the Louisville Cardinals. For the Big Red Lou. So, hey, Cabe, thanks for joining us tonight. We're doing a little roundtable getting ready for this big game on Saturday. That's Danielle. Say hello to Danielle.
Hi. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hi, Cabe.
No problem. So, just talk about your point of view, Cabe. After last week's tough loss to Kentucky, I know everybody thought that was going to be an easy W for Louisville to get ready for the ACC title. What happened?
It's hard to say. I mean, we were touchdown favorites in that game, and it just came down to the turnover margin and special teams, and that's what an underdog needs is plays like that, and where you fumble the ball twice, and Kentucky scores on both of those turnovers, and they have like a near 100-yard return by Barryon Brown, and I mean that's if you're at home and you're a big team in a rivalry game like that. If things don't go your way, you can lose those games. It sucks for 5 years in a row to lose to those guys, but that's just how it went.
Yeah.
Hey, Caleb, it's called. We have a really big high school football rivalry here where I live in North Carolina, and my alma mater. We lost to our arch rival for 9 straight years, and last 2 years, we've gone on and we've beat them. So I understand completely what Louisville's going through. So hopefully you guys can turn it around because, as Danielle knows, we all know anything can happen on any given Saturday, especially during a rivalry game since it's intense.
Yeah, it's weird because Louisville pretty much dominated the rivalry for pretty much a decade. And then after Bobby Petrino left and Satterfield came in, not only did we lose to Kentucky, but it was 30-point blowouts to Kentucky at home and there. And then we finally have the upper hand this year, a top 10 team, and we lose again. So it's just kind of like, well, when are we actually going to get over that hump? Because this was pretty much Louisville's dream season. I mean, they were 10-1. They got a berth to the ACC championship game, and Florida State Jordan Travis got injured, so things were kind of looking up for us, and now this kind of knocks us out of that top 10. Not that we were probably going to make the playoff, probably not, but we had a small shot, and now that's completely gone. So,
hey, a good bowl game is still a good thing for you guys.
yeah.
You know, just it's not a New Year's Six bowl, or if you guys go to the was it the Pop-Tart Bowl there, Danielle, down there in Orlando? You get free Pop-Tarts after you win the. I talked to the Pop-Tart guys up in Wake Forest, and I'm like, all right. What's the winning flavor? Is it going to be chocolate or cookies and cream? And he goes, I don't know yet. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, did you know there's now a Pop-Tart mascot, and the winner of the bowl game gets to take a bite out of the mascot? I saw that on Twitter earlier today. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, that's news to me. Okay.
Wow. Well, Danielle, go ahead. I got to ask Danielle a question. We had Roberto Aguayo on, and we had his long snapper on almost like an hour ago.
Yep.
What was your feeling like when Jordan went down? What was you saw it live on TV. I think everybody did, on the CW. What was your feeling like when you saw it? You're like, did you go, oh God? Did you one of those where you was turn the TV and go somewhere else for
more than that? As everybody knows, Jordan Travis came here many, many years ago. He actually was transferred in under Coach Taggart. I've long been a fan of his, because with the offensive line problems we were having, you needed a dual threat quarterback who would keep it and run. That was going to be a key. And I think there was a lot of pressure on him all year. Why isn't he running more? Why isn't he running more? And then in a game, your last home game, senior day, you go down running against North Alabama, and I cried. I mean, everybody did. It was one of those things where it was like, this isn't fair, that this is his last home game and this is happening to him. It was a sense of disbelief. You could see the hurt on the coaches' faces. You could see the hurt. You saw Trey Benson sobbing. You saw, Coach Norvell just look completely. And within minutes, they had to regroup. I mean, there was no time to do anything. The coaches just had to, and I know you guys have probably seen the cinematic recap where Coach Odell is saying, this is a test. One of our brothers are down. Everybody together fight for each other. And Coach Odell Higgins has always been there when we've needed those moments. As you guys know, he coached us, to the bowl game and through the bowl game when Jimbo left. So it's one of those, it was a very spiritual thing, but it was a heartbreaking thing. And then you saw the team go to the hospital and just stand by him. And then you saw him in Gainesville this weekend supporting the team and being there for the team. And so he's showing his leadership regardless of what's happened. It was just very tragic. It did.
Oh yeah. I saw something earlier today, Danielle. I saw Jordan Travis is in Charlotte this week.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it
either. So it's like, even though Jordan can't be on the field, we'll probably see him up in a suite, on Saturday night. And, when I saw the video, Danielle, all the players going, to Jordan's room, I was like, we are one. It's called, we will play for Jordan. It's called, you guys have probably seen, we play for JT 13. It's called, it's been just awesome to see, how the team has, how the team has bonded together since Jordan went down, and looking forward to seeing, if they can contain, Louisville's running game on Saturday night. Since Caleb, we just had Rick Bozich on from Louisville, and he mentioned the running game. So Caleb, talk about Louisville's running game. How good it's been this year.
Yeah, so it's mainly been or for the first probably 8 games, the bulk of it was Jawar Jordan in the offensive line, just bullying teams like Notre Dame and not being able to do that in recent years, even with like a run-heavy coach like Scott Satterfield. And Brahms, he wants to pass the ball more than he wants to run the ball. But after the first few games, he realized the run was the strength, so he kind of ran with it. And then Jawar Jordan was out for the Pittsburgh game, and so they ran with Isaac Garendo, and he's kind of been the force in the Virginia Tech and the Virginia game. And him and Jordan have kind of been splitting the carries almost since Jordan's not at full health. But even against Kentucky, they didn't get a lot of big plays just in general, but the run game, while it was good, it wasn't dominant like it has been. So with Florida State, the talent's there to completely stop Louisville's run game. So it'll be interesting to see how the lines match up and who can make the biggest plays in the trenches, I think.
I completely agree. And I think that's going to be part of FSU's key, because Jawar Jordan, completely awesome, is going to be to stop the run. You're going to have to, and you have the defense to do it. There's no question. But you have to make sure that you do, because Louisville overall to me is a balanced team. They do throw the ball, but their run game is definitely one of the highlight key strengths that Florida State's going to have to focus on.
Yeah, it's true.
Go
ahead, man. Go ahead.
So Danielle, so what? So the leadership. So with the leadership that Mike Norvell has shown, how has that led to Florida State being 12-0 this season?
What Mike Norvell, and you guys know I've been in the trenches with it. I started doing sports radio, back in before Coach Taggart, right after Jimbo left. And I've been in the trenches with this for a really long time. What Mike Norvell did, I remember when I found out he was hired, and I start studying all this film from Memphis, and I start studying this coach, and I was like, I think we're really going to like this. I think his offense is going to fit what we're trying to do. But I didn't realize overall, not only that, and getting to interview him early 2020 was when I really realized this. He is a leader. He loves these kids. He cares about these kids. It is more than just X's and O's on the field. It is a family. It is accountability. It's a culture difference that is completely, and everybody always says people just talk about culture when they're winning. No, FSU had struggled for many, many years with those issues. So he comes in and lights a fire, and these guys bought in, and it was done. And they're fighting for him, just like we're fighting for JT now, to win these games because we want to finish for 13. They're fighting for their coach. They love him because they know he loves them. What he managed to do is just a night and day. I wish I could even explain it. You can go back over. He sounds like a preacher if you ever hear him talk.
Yeah,
I want like a motivational speech from Mike Norvell every morning, But I mean, seriously, it's just it's hard to say because y'all know how much I love Coach Bowden, and there will never be another Coach Bowden.
Yes,
but he has reinstilled that family atmosphere is back. And the embracing the old too. He's very into the former players and having them here and part of the program. So that's wonderful.
And the amazing thing is, Danielle, it's like with the leadership that I see, it's like the brotherhood. It's like everyone is playing together as a team, and it's what's just really nice to see and hear that they still need improvement, because just like I said earlier, that Chris and I were at the Wake Forest game, and it's like, well, the players were still talking when they still need a lot of improvement. I mean, there's been teams that Chris and I have spoken to, and won stuff, and there has not been that level of, hey, we need to still improve. We still need to do this, even though we're still undefeated. I mean, it's okay, great, we're undefeated, and so just the level of being aware, the level of accountability that Mike Norvell has put into the program is absolutely absolutely amazing. And when there's no words to really say the level of leadership and the level impact, positive impact that Mike Norvell has done with the Florida State.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. Amen.
Exactly. Caleb, what is the 3 keys for the Cardinals to pull off like a huge upset? Literally put a fork in this whole college football playoff. What did they have to do on Saturday night to, it's going to be a pro Florida State crowd pretty much.
Right. Yeah. I think the number one key is for Louisville not to be deflated in this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you go back to 2016 and Lamar Jackson, they're 9-1. They go to Houston, they lose by 20, and then they're like 4 touchdown favorites against UK, and they lose that game, and then they get blown out in their bowl game. So it's kind of the same thing here. You can't go into this game and be deflated and just kind of lose by 14-17 to Florida State and then lose in the bowl game. Brom needs to get his guys pepped up and ready for this game and be angry that they lost to UK and not just kind of flatten out the rest of the season. And then I would say Jack Plummer needs to continue doing what he's been doing and not, just throw the ball away and it get picked off. He can't just make those bad throws. And then down in the trenches, they need to be able to beat Florida State on the offensive and defensive line, because if they can run the ball and make Tate Rodemaker uncomfortable, then they can win this game. Because even I think against Florida, he was 12 of 25 or something like that. I mean, he's not Jordan Travis. But yeah, that's what I would say. And Jeff Brom just needs to have his guys ready more than anything.
That's true.
My 3, I'm going to give you my 3 real quick. Stop the run. I agree that this is going to be a game of trenches. Your defensive line is going to be huge. Your linebackers are going to be huge too. You want to force Plummer to make those throws. Take advantage of those mistakes is what I'm saying. What we saw what happened with Kentucky with the turnovers. So you want to force him into those situations. Stop the run, take advantage of mistakes. And their defensive line, their defensive line is really good. So our offensive line, and that's been an issue, worrying about the health of our offensive line and what we're doing. We did do some rotations against Florida, but I think that was more about how we plan to attack Florida than anything injury related. So make sure you can do those things. They have a really good defense. And it's like he's saying, what I can't pronounce his name, Ashton Gillotte, I think.
Ashton Gillotte, yeah.
Gillotte, yeah, is like one of the nation's leaders in sacks. He can put pressure on Tate. So your offensive line is going to be key.
It's a lot of if Florida State can contain the edges specifically, because Gillotte and those guys like to go around and kind of force the quarterback to either scramble out or just sack him. But if Rodemaker can just set his eyes downfield and make the throws, and then they can burn Louisville, because that happened in the UK game. Just a 60-yard pass downfield because we brought too much pressure. Or if Rodemaker can just move around and avoid the guys from the edge, so Florida State can protect the outside, I think they'll be in really good hands.
That's true. I didn't talk to Coach Brown yesterday, Danielle, about Wilson. Because I feel like Wilson is that. Remember Benjamin used to play for us back in 2013, the tall, person that Winston found over the middle all the time. He went to Carolina, and then I think he went to the Giants and just died off because I think something happened. We don't know what it was. I asked my brother about that the other day. But he reminds me of that guy that we had as a wide receiver. Do you agree that he looks like Benjamin?
Yeah. I think in a lot, we have so much height on the team. I think the issue, FSU is very balanced, a lot like Louisville. A lot of people think Louisville is just heavy on the run game. They do throw a lot. I don't know if people know that. So that's definitely there. FSU is very balanced too, in that we have plenty of weapons as, running backs and things we can do. It's going to be a game of, do we use our run game to open our pass game or vice versa? A lot of it's going to depend on the pressure on Tate. So But yeah, I agree. I mean, if Tate can, and I think a lot of it was timing, Tate, a lot of people were saying, well, we're holding on to the ball too long, whatever. The team's also readjusting to a whole new deal right now. But the reality of the situation is, yeah, I mean, you just throw it. Because if you have a bunch of guys that are basketball size, I mean, let's be honest. You can just always throw it. But that could also cost you. You don't want to end up throwing interceptions. So I was actually shocked during Florida at how well they had covered. Because Florida is not known for their secondary. So, but at how well they had covered some of that. So who knows? But I agree. He reminds me, it's like a Benjamin thing. It is.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We love having you guys on. We're going to get up to the top of the hour before we have to roll off. So I appreciate Caleb for joining us tonight, and Danielle, thank you for joining us. I hope to see you, Danielle. Are you heading down there this weekend?
That is the plan. That is
cool. It's called. Let me know, Danielle. It's called. If you're coming, so I can get a picture with you.
Absolutely.
I'd like to meet you in person because I've been meeting you online since the day of COVID.
Yeah,
long
time.
It's been a long time. I just know you by the lady on the video. That's all I know.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, have a safe trip to Charlotte, both of you all, and enjoy the weekend.
All right, you too. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us on, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, man. See you, Danielle. See you.
See you, Danielle.
All right, that's our good friends. Danielle Joyner she used to be a broadcaster for Florida State stuff, and she's also a weather lady too. So it's supposed to rain down there.
Meteorologist, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then Kaylee Hall from the Big Red Louie. So
since Danielle's a meteorologist, we should ask her about the weather. What kind of weather system is coming into the area for Charlotte?
Well, we'll talk. I forgot to ask her, but it looks like it's going to be raining Friday, but I don't know what time it's going to rain. But it's all this. It's like a low with a low coming. I saw it this morning on the Weather Channel with Jim Jantori. He was all fired up.
But Jim Cantori really gets fired up when you got the snow coming or the hurricanes coming. He really gets fired up for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Fire snow. Our coverage of the ACC Championship starts Friday afternoon when we'll be you and I and Matt will be at the ACC Media Day for the ACC Championship Media Day from Bank of America Stadium. That should kick off around 2:30. We'll get some good audio from both coaches, and we'll see what else we got in store for the folks from the ACC. And then on Saturday, depends on the rain and all that, so we'll make our trip around town, see what's going on with different sights and sounds. We talked to James Coleman. Just texted me. He got busy working on stuff for this week, but I said he gave us the address to stop by. Cool. So maybe we could stop by and say hello and have a hamburger with them.
Yeah.
Or a hot dog.
And it's called. I'm looking forward to finally meeting you in person on Thursday night, Matt. It's gonna.
You know what, Adam? I can definitely say that I feel the same way. I'm definitely looking forward to meeting you and everything. And it's like, I know, well, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that you can feel my intensity with the games and with college football and my not intensity, but passion I have, and especially passion for Florida State, and my passion for Roll Tide. And so what, when we get in person, we're gonna do a Roll Tide, you and me.
Yes,
so,
we
but,
will. Yes, we will.
But what, Adam, it is going to be a true pleasure to meet you and to go ahead and to share this great moment game. Like we're going to be there Friday, Saturday, and even part on Sunday. So it's going to be great. And late Thursday night. But I mean, it's just going to be great, sharing this experience. It really is. And hopefully we all can bring a win home for Florida State, so then they can go into the playoffs. Because if they win, they're in. There's no way that the committee is going to say, "Oh, you're not going to be in because of a backup quarterback." So they're going to be in if they win.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the rankings on the AP rankings, Florida State is number 4 this week. So I think that's a good indication. We may jump up into the top 4. So we'll find out tomorrow night, when the playoff rankings are announced.
Well, yeah, and I mean, in my opinion, I think they should be higher than 4th. But
Right.
I'm really curious where they're going to put Ohio State. Are they going to jump up Alabama any? Because Alabama has not been raised at all yet, and they keep on winning. So are they not going to raise Alabama at all? How far are they going to lower Ohio State? So that's my thing. Well, I'm really curious about that. Because that's really going to be a question mark. How far Ohio State drops, and does Alabama move up at all? And in my opinion, Washington keeps on winning by the slimmest of margins. Like last Saturday, they won on a game-winning field goal to Washington State. So I know they're undefeated and they keep on winning. But I mean, if you really want to look at it. Yes, they're undefeated, granted, but you know what? They're not. They're not, in my opinion, right now. They're not one of the 4 best teams in the country. Washington, okay. Right. I mean, I would have another team in that 4 slot. Okay, I would have FSU up at 3rd. So, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. So. It's just they just keep on winning barely, and when you go into the playoffs, that's not going to happen. You just can't barely beat whoever you're going to play. If it'll be Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, whoever. So that's not going to, or Florida State. You can't just barely beat them because that won't happen with these other teams.
Right. Well, before we go here, on this date in 1994, we had the CFL team, Matt, here, and it was history. The Baltimore Football Club played against the BC Lions, and they lost 26-23. It was the first ever championship between U.S. and Canada. And it was pretty cool. I remember watching this with my father at the house, and watching this game, and there's the Stallions, and they were like, their defense was just similar to what the Ravens are doing right now, just similar, back in the day. And that guy, the Lions place kicker, Luis Pengola, who basically ruined my life that evening. He had a game-winning field goal with no time left on the clock, and BC beat Baltimore. And a year later, Baltimore won the Grey Cup, and then 2 years later, they went off to Montreal. So that's pretty interesting little thing there.
Yeah.
So. Well, we're going to leave you tonight with a song that this guy, one of the Beatles, George Harrison, he made an album that came out on this date in 1970. And there's a song that everybody loves that's on that album called My Sweet Lord. And he got sued by the Sweet and Low Company because the Sweet and Low Company thought it said My Sweet and Low. How did you get Sweet and Low with Sweet Lord?
Chris, that's a good question.
And when they got sued because of that?
Yeah, he got sued by the Sweet and Low Company because the Sweet and Low people thought he was using their name in the song.
But he says Sweet and Lord, correct?
Yeah, My Sweet Lord.
Sweet Lord, wow.
Listen to it. It sounds My Sweet and Low.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because of his British accent, okay, people.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going to leave you tonight. We'll see you all on Saturday, this weekend down in Charlotte. So hopefully you all will make it down there and watch the games. And we'll be back here next Monday night, with all the good stuff we have planned here for next Monday night at 7:30. So we leave you with George Harrison. So have a great night, everybody, and be safe and be warm. It's going to be cold wherever you are tomorrow. So
and enjoy championship weekend.
Yes, it is. Enjoy championship weekend. So here it is.
My sweet Lord.